Hello and welcome to my today's tutorial. We are moving on well with our NEBOSH International General Certificate syllabus. Currently, we are in element 3 and we are talking about risk assessment. So in our today's tutorial, we are going to cover the suitable and sufficient risk assessment. For your risk assessment to be suitable means it should suit to that specific organization. If you're conducting risk assessment for a hospital, the types of hazard you are going to identify, they will be totally different from the hazard that you will identify when conducting risk assessment of an office. The risk assessment of an office, the hazard will be totally different from the risk assessment of a residential building. The risk assessment of a residential building will be different from the risk assessment from the hotels and beaches. So, suitability means your risk assessment must be useful to that particular organization. It must talk about the organization. When you go through the risk assessment, you will be able to understand the layout of the organization, and you will be in a position to identify all the types of hazards which are present in the workplace. And when you identify them, it will be easy to look for the control measures which are already present. And if there will be any additional control measures required to be added. So, a risk assessment should be suitable and sufficient. In other words, it should be good enough. It should be good enough to fulfill the legal requirements and to prevent the foreseeable risk or injuries and ill health from happening. So the risk assessment should be sufficient, meaning it should be in a position to prevent any personal injuries and to prevent the organization from any legal enforcement action. A suitable risk assessment should have the following factors. Number 1, it should identify the significant risks arising out of the work, those that are most likely to occur and results in harm being caused, with any remaining risk being at any acceptable low level. When we're talking about the purpose of risk assessment, we said the main objective is to eliminate the hazard. The main objective is to eliminate the hazard. But if elimination is impossible, then the second thing to do is to minimize the risk which results from the hazard. If the hazard cannot be eliminated, therefore you have to control its risk. If the hazard has not been eliminated and it is likely to cause harm, then our objective is to minimize the harm that might be caused by the hazard that is remaining in the organization. So, number 1 is to identify the significant risk which arise from the hazards. So for a suitable risk assessment, it should be in a position to identify the risk which are still inherent in the company. Number 2, a suitable and sufficient risk assessment should be able to identify all those people who might be harmed by the hazard and how they might be harmed. So, if there is still some types of hazard which it is difficult to eliminate them, then what categories of people are exposed or are prone to these types of hazard? Such as visitors, we have people of the public, the passerbys, we have the employees, and any other person such as the enforcement agency, any government agency who would like to visit the organization or the company. Are they protected from the current hazards which have remained? So the risk assessment should cover all this. Number 3, it should be able to evaluate the effectiveness of the current control measures. Are they sufficient? Are they going hand in hand with the current hazard in the workplace? And if they are not, they have to be reviewed and updated. Number four, the risk assessment should be in a position to enable the employers to identify and prioritize the measures that must be put in place to protect the people from harm and personal injuries, as well as complying with the legal requirements. So, the risk assessment should be able to identify all the types of hazard in the workplace. Number 2, to prioritize on the protective measures that will prevent an accident from happening, as well as preventing any legal breach or any legal action. In other words, the risk assessment is the shield of the company. With a suitable and sufficient risk assessment, the company is sure it will be safe and the employees will remain safe and the company itself will be secured and there will be no any single loss that will arise from any kind of accidents. Number 5, the risk assessment should be appropriate to the nature of the work and remains valid for a reasonable period of time. As I already said earlier, that you cannot take risk assessment of a residential building and use it in a construction site and vice versa. The risk assessment should be specific to that particular organization, covering all the hazards which are present and the way you are going to control those hazards to the acceptable levels. So the risk assessment should be appropriate to the nature of the organization. That means a low-risk workplace will require a simple risk assessment that may be prepared within some hours. And it doesn't need a high education. It needs just someone who is competent, like a manager, who knows his organization. Therefore, the only thing to do is to go around and check and do an inspection and identify all the types of hazard and prioritize on the protective measures. High-risk workplaces, it requires a complex risk assessment that must be conducted by a more competent person, preferably someone with a PhD in a particular faculty. Let's say the company deals with the chemicals, then we need someone with a PhD and a higher education that will prepare a detailed risk assessment that is complex and requires a detailed knowledge of the chemical hazards which are inherent in the organization. A simple assessment will take some few hours, while the complex assessment, risk assessment, will require some weeks to be completed. And that will mark the end of our today's tutorial. And if you find this knowledge important, I really urge you to do one little thing, but very important: to subscribe to the channel, to like the video, and share the knowledge. And leave a comment in the comment section if you have any additional inquiry, or if you need a specific topic for elaboration. I can prepare a tutorial and talk about it. And if you need a one-on-one assistance, then feel free to reach to my direct to my WhatsApp. My WhatsApp numbers are there. Just check from the units from the element 1 and 2. My contacts are there, and feel free to reach me at any given moment, specifically for education purposes. Thank you very much, and let's meet in our next tutorial. In our next tutorial, we are going to talk about the 5 steps of risk assessment. So stay tuned as we move forward. Thank you very much.